Windsor is one of those places where the story of England feels unusually concentrated, with royal power, medieval fortification, Victorian renovation, and modern ceremony all layered into a single walkable hilltop. Windsor is the upriver anchor, the palace, the place where monarchy becomes both domestic and symbolic. Windsor Castle is one of those places where the layers of monarchy, architecture, and national ceremony sit so close to the surface that you feel them as you walk. Windsor fits beautifully into that larger story of power, continuity, and renovation. Eton is one of those places where the atmosphere does half the storytelling. It's small, self-contained, and steeped in ritual, almost like a preserved academic republic sitting just across the river from Royal Windsor. If Windsor Castle is about dynamic continuity, Eton is about intellectual tradition and shaping of Britain's elite. The contrast between the two makes the walk between them feel like a shift in worlds. In this vlog, I'll be taking a day trip to Windsor, Eton, and Windsor Castle. From London Paddington, getting to Windsor is wonderfully simple, and it sets up one of the most elegant arrivals of any royal site in England. Paddington to Windsor and Eton Central is the fast, ceremonial route that drops you almost directly at the foot of the castle. The journey is clean and efficient. From Paddington, you have to exchange at Slough Station before continuing to Windsor and Eton Central. The line is operated by GWR. The total time of the journey is 25 to 35 minutes. There's a train every 15 to 20 minutes, and the Windsor and Eton Central Station is just a 2-minute walk from Castle Hill. The transfer at Slough is a quick cross-platform change. It's a usually seamless interchange. It's usually the same platform or directly across, designed for this shuttle connection. Paddington is the best choice for a day trip to Windsor because it's the fastest way to Windsor. You step out into a Victorian station arcade that opens straight towards the castle. Castle Hill rises immediately in front of you, giving you the royal reveal moment. It's perfect if your day is Windsor Castle first, then Eton second. It's the route that feels most aligned with the ceremonial perks that most people enjoy. Windsor and Eton Central is a charming and compact station with a covered Victorian concourse, cafes and small shops, a direct line of sight to the castle walls, and a gentle uphill walk to the main entrance. You're inside the castle precincts within minutes. Windsor and Eton Central is one of the most atmospheric small stations in England, compact, Victorian, and positioned almost theatrically beneath the castle. Arriving here feels less like stepping off a commuter train and more like entering a created royal stage. Windsor and Eton Central opened in 1849 as the Great Western Railway's answer to a very Victorian problem. The station was built as a terminus specifically to serve Windsor Castle, making it one of the earliest examples of a railway designed around royal protocol. Windsor and Eton Central Station is a single platform terminus tucked into a Victorian iron and glass hall. It has a miniature shopping arcade with cafes, bakeries, and boutique shops, a preserved GWR Royal Waiting Room, which is now part of the retail space, and a direct line of sight to the castle walls as you step outside. It's one of the few stations where the architecture still hints at the prestige of its original purpose. As the monarchy embraced rail travel, the station evolved into a ceremonial gateway. A royal waiting room was constructed. It was lavish, wood-paneled, and designed to impress. The station became the embarkation point for royal journeys to London, Balmoral, and Osborne House. Special trains including the early royal train departed from here. This period cemented the station's identity as a royal interface, and not just a transport hub. The station was dramatically rebuilt in 1897 for Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee. This is the version you see today, with the grand iron and glass train shed, a long, elegant concourse, more formalized approach to Castle Hill, and a decorative detailing that echoed the prestige of the castle above. It became a kind of railway arcade, blending transport with Victorian civic architecture. As rail travel patterns shifted, the station's importance waned. The original multiple platforms were reduced to just one. Much of the track layouts were removed. The station shed was particularly repurposed for retail. The royal waiting room ceased to be used for its original purpose. By the 1960s and 70s, the station was effectively a branch line shuttle terminus, but the Victorian grandeur remained. Between the 1990s and 2000s, Windsor and Eton Central underwent a major transformation, which saw the concourse become a shopping and dining arcade. The preserved royal waiting room was integrated into a retail space, and the station became a blend of heritage, commerce, and transport. The moment you exit the concourse, the castle dominates your field of vision. 2 minutes to Castle Hill, 5 minutes to the castle entrance, and 10 minutes to the Thames footbridge to Eton. There are normally 105 trains per day traveling from London Paddington to Windsor and Eton Central, and tickets for this journey starting from $16.73 when you book in advance. Use Trainline to get tickets from London to Windsor and Eton Central. Windsor Castle's history is one of the most continuous, layered, and symbolically charged narratives in England. It's not just a fortress or a palace, it's a 1,000-year timeline of monarchy written in stone on a hill above the Thames. Every era leaves a visible imprint, which makes the castle feel like a living architectural biography of the English crown. William the Conqueror built Windsor shortly after the Norman conquest in the 1070s. One of the ring of moat and bailey fortresses encircling London, positioned to control the Thames and the western approach to the capital. It was built on a natural chalk ridge, giving it commanding views. This early Windsor was a military outpost and not yet a royal residence. Successive monarchs expanded Windsor into a true royal palace. Henry II replaced timber with stone fortifications and created the first recognizable royal apartments. Edward III was the most transformative medieval builder. He rebuilt the castle on a grand scale, founded the Order of the Garter in 1348, commissioned St. George's Chapel's predecessor, and turned Windsor into a chivalric court and symbol of English kingship. Windsor becomes the ceremonial heart of medieval monarchy. St. George's Chapel was built between 1475 and 1528. It was a masterpiece of Perpendicular Gothic architecture. It has fan vaulting, heraldic stalls, and royal burials. It becomes the spiritual and ceremonial core of the castle. During the Tudor era, Henry VIII and Elizabeth I both used Windsor as a refuge during plague outbreaks, thus the castle became a secure royal retreat. Charles II transformed Windsor into a Baroque palace. Lavish interiors were inspired by Versailles, long galleries and staterooms were redesigned, and the castle became the stage for royal magnificence. This is the moment Windsor shifts fortress to ceremonial palace. George III treated Windsor as a family home and began restoring medieval elements. George IV, the great romanticer of Windsor, raised the round tower to its current height, added battlements and Gothic revival details to the castle, and reimagined Windsor as a medieval romantic symbol of monarchy. This is the Windsor we visualize and recognize today. Queen Victoria made Windsor the emotional heart of the monarchy, held court here regularly. The castle became the site of national mourning after the passing of Prince Albert, and state visits and ceremonies were expanded. Under Queen Victoria's rule, Windsor became a symbol of stability and imperial identity. In the early 20th century, Windsor continued to be used as a royal residence and modern utilities were installed. During World War II, the royal family secretly sheltered at Windsor during the Blitz. Windows were blacked out and chandeliers were removed, and the castle became a symbol of national endurance. In the late 20th century, public access to the castle was increased, and the castle and restoration and conservation work A major fire in 1992 damaged over 100 rooms in the castle. It burned for 15 hours, destroyed or damaged key staterooms, and took over 5 years to restore. The rebuild balanced historical accuracy with modern craftsmanship, creating the current St. George's Hall and Grand Reception Room. Windsor remains an active royal home and ceremonial site. It is the monarchy's most continuous architectural statement. 3 anchors define the experience of Windsor Castle: the Upper Ward, St. George's Chapel, and the Round Tower. The Upper Ward is the working heart of the monarchy. This is where the state apartments sit, and they're not museum pieces. They're still used for investors, diplomatic receptions, and state visits. St. George's Hall is the ceremonial spine rebuilt after the 1992 fire with a vaulted hammer beam ceiling that feels both medieval and modern. The Waterloo Chamber is the gallery of European power politics after Napoleon, a reminder that Windsor has always been a stage for geopolitical storytelling. The magnificent state apartments, decorated with some of the finest works of art in the royal collection, spot masterpieces on display by Holbein, Rubens, and Van Dyck, Severan's porcelain, and exquisite English and French furniture. Queen Mary's dollhouse is the largest doll's house in the world. St. George's Chapel is a Gothic majesty and royal memory. This is one of the most extraordinary Gothic buildings in England. The fan vaulting is so intricate, it almost looks weightless. Monarchs from Henry VIII to Queen Elizabeth II rest here, which give the space a quiet gravity. The Order of the Gardener stalls with their heraldic banners turn the chapel into a living theater of chivalric tradition. The round tower is the castle's symbolic beacon. It's not actually round though, but it does dominate the skyline. Built on artificial mound, it reinforces and reshapes across centuries, a visual shorthand for royal authority. From the long walk, the round tower becomes the castle's cinematic moment. Windsor Castle is the oldest and largest occupied castle in the world. A royal home and fortress for more than 900 years, it remains a working palace to this day and is the official residence of His Majesty the King. Discover the rich history and stunning architecture of the world-famous Windsor Castle. Get ready to explore the lavish staterooms, pay respects at St. George's Chapel, and explore the Immaculate Gardens. If you're planning a trip to Windsor Castle, expect to spend between 60 to 90 minutes at the state apartments, between 20 to 30 minutes at the St. George's Chapel, and 20 minutes at the precincts and views. The changing of the guards only occurs on select days around 11 o'clock a.m. from Mondays to Saturdays between April and June. The rest of the year, it takes place on alternate days with exception of Sundays. Windsor Castle is the largest inhabited castle in the world. Continuous royal use of the castle for nearly 1,000 years, architectural layers from Norman to modern eras. It's the ceremonial home of the Order of the Garter and a national symbol of continuity, monarchy, and state ceremony. The recommended time for your self-guided tour of Windsor Castle from London is 2 to 3 hours, allowing you to complete the full visitor's route around the castle and grounds. Best photography angles of the castle are from the bottom of Castle Hill. The long walk, even 10 minutes in, gives you the iconic views, and the riverside near the footbridge to Eton. Discover Windsor Castle, the world's oldest and largest inhabited castle, on a half-day trip from London. Wander the opulent state apartments, showcasing masterpieces by Rembrandt and Leonardo da Vinci. Admire Queen Mary's dollhouse, a perfectly detailed miniature palace, and visit St. George's Chapel. Use my link to book this guided tour to Windsor Castle. Use my link to book this guided tour at Windsor Castle from London via Klook. Explore Windsor Castle, the oldest and largest occupied castle in the world. Admire some of the royal collection's finest treasures in the state apartments. See magnificent masterpieces by some of the world's most renowned artists. Take a self-guided tour of the castle with a free multimedia guide. Use my link to get admission tickets to Windsor Castle using GetYourGuide. The Windsor and Eton Bridge is the historic pedestrian crossing that links the royal town of Windsor with the collegiate town of Eton. It's one of the most symbolically charged points in the Windsor-Eton landscape, the literal hinge between monarchy and education. An iron and granite arch bridge spanning the Thames opened in 1824, marking its bicentenary in 2024. Originally carried carriages and later cars, but has been pedestrian only since 1970 due to structural concerns. It's about 200 feet long, with 3 cast iron arches resting on granite piers. The bridge connects the castle, the Guildhall, and the compact historic center of Windsor to the High Street, Eton College, and the quieter village-like side of Eton. The Thames Path also crosses here. The Windsor and Eton Bridge has linked Windsor and Eton since at least the 13th century, with earlier wooden bridges predating the current 1824 structures. It served a conduit of royal courts, trade, and ideas flowing between Windsor and the wider region. Today, it's one of the best vantage points of Windsor Castle and the Thames, especially at sunset. Crossing the bridge is a small but powerful moment in any Windsor Eton itinerary. Crossing the bridge is a small but powerful moment in any Windsor to Eton itinerary. You leave the ceremonial weight of Windsor behind you. You step into the academic calm of Eton. The river widens, the castle rises behind you, and the whole scene seems like a transition between two identities. Eton is one of those places where the atmosphere does half the storytelling for you. It's small, self-contained, and steeped in ritual, almost like a preserved academic republic sitting just across the river from Royal Windsor. If Windsor Castle is about dynastic continuity, Eton is about intellectual tradition and shaping of Britain's elite. The contrast between the two makes the walk between the two feel like a shift in worlds. Eton College is a medieval college founded in 1440 by Henry VI, still operating on its original site, still using many of its original buildings, and still carrying a distinctive visual identity, coattails, white ties, and a campus that feels more like an Oxford college than a school. Over nearly 6 centuries, it evolved from a medieval foundation into one of the most prestigious schools in the world, while retaining its original site, chapel, and core traditions. Eton College survived the turbulence of Reformation and Civil War. Its chapels, cloisters, and early buildings remained central to school life. The curriculum was dominated by Latin, Greek, and classical learning, shaping the school's long intellectual identity. The school grew significantly, adding new houses and academic buildings. Eton became associated with Britain's elite, producing statesmen, writers, and military leaders. Victorian reforms modernized teaching while preserving traditions such as uniforms, houses, and chapel life. Eton College expanded academically and architecturally while maintaining its boarding school structure. The link with King's College Cambridge, originally central to its mission, gradually faded. The school became known for its distinctive tradition and its influence on public life. Today, Eton College educates around 1,341 boys aged 13 to 18. It occupies a 1,600-acre campus in Eton, Berkshire. While now one of the world's most prestigious schools, its origins as a charitable foundation remains visible in the continued presence of the King's Scholars. Eton College is one of the oldest continuously operated schools in England, a rare example of medieval educational foundations still functioning on its original site, deeply tied to the monarchy, founded by a king located beside Windsor. Three themes define Eton: architectural continuity, academic ritual identity, and the high street. Eton College's buildings form a coherent Gothic and Tudor ensemble, with the college yard forming the medieval heart, enclosed and atmospheric, the Eton College Chapel soaring perpendicular Gothic with unfinished medieval wall paintings, the cloisters a quiet monastic perfect for photography, the school hall and school library Victorian and Edwardian layers that extend the narrative. It's one of the few places where you can stand in the courtyard and feel 6 centuries of educational life without interruption. Eton's traditions are famously distinctive. Students in morning coats, Eton's wall game played on a narrow brick wall, a culture of houses, tutors, and rituals that feel almost monastic, and a curriculum historically built around classical education. Even if you don't see students, the architecture carries the ritual. The High Street is a living museum, a single elegant spine, tailors with name unchanged for generations, bookshops and antique stores, Georgian and Victorian facades with a consistent palette and a calm, almost timeless rhythm. It's one of the most photogenic streets in the Thames Valley. Eton High Street is perfect for slow walking and photography. You'll see tailors, bookshops, antique stores, and Georgian facades. The Eton Walkway is a 2-mile heritage trail linking 18 historical points, including the Burning Bush, the National History Museum, the Cockpit, and the Christopher Inn site, among others. It's a structured way to experience the town's layers. Where Windsor is grand and ceremonial, Eton is quiet, introspective, and almost monastic. A place where the architecture whispers rather than shouts, the history feels lived in rather than monumental, and the river softens the entire experience. It's the perfect counterbalance to the castle style. Eton is a historic town in the shadow of Windsor Castle, but is perhaps better known for its prestigious boys' school, Eton College. On this walking tour, you'll hear centuries of fascinating history that have shaped this remarkable small town and its world-famous college. The tour dips through the college area along peaceful playing fields and back to the bustling high street. Get this tour from VoiceMap. Eton is a historic town in the royal borough of Windsor and Maidenhead, Berkshire, England. Famous as the home of the prestigious Eton College, founded in 1440. Located on the River Thames opposite Windsor, it is connected to Windsor Castle by a bridge and is a renowned affluent Thameside location. Use TripAdvisor to look for things to do in Eton. A day trip to Windsor Castle and Eton from London is one of the simplest day trips you can take from London. Windsor is a charming royal borough around Windsor Castle, compact with Georgian and Victorian streets, riverside cafes and pubs, and a gentle ceremonial atmosphere shaped by the castle above. Cross the pedestrian bridge to Eton, a medieval academic world with tailors, bookshops, and antique stores along Eton High Street and the prestigious Eton College. Windsor Castle is the anchor of the day, and it delivers scale, ceremony, and the 1,000 years of history in one place. It's the oldest and largest inhabited castle in the world, and is the most complete expression of monarchy you can visit in Britain. In my next vlog, I'll be visiting Chinatown, Soho, and shopping streets.